So welcome everybody to Tempo Storm versus Bruh+Sitaux. This is going to be the final day of the first round of the group stage from 2-2. We'll have Hera and Leary fighting against Bruh+Sitaux. Bruh+Sitaux 3-0'd Rubenstock and Zupi in the qualifiers of the event, so they are not as weak as you would think, and they will have a shot against Tempo if they actually play their best and they prepare well for the maps, because that's the key part, I would say here. Being able to prepare for the somewhat unconventional or rarely played maps, because we always talk about the fact that Tempo is a great team when it comes to playing standard maps, but many of the many of the maps that we are playing here are somewhat unconventional, and Hera and Lear don't necessarily have a lot of experience on them. Cape of Storms is a map that they like. They play that on Empire Wars Duo as well. It's a very open map for them to play, even though we have seen decent efforts from teams walling it off. I feel like Cape of Storms is definitely the map where Hera and Lear thrive with their Scouts micro, and so Kawasan is an interesting choice. Could be related to the fact that they played this a lot in the Red Bull event, so they do have fairly decent experience on them. Other side, Coast to Mountain and Forest Pond. Forest Pond is something I like for Bruh+Sitaux. On the other side, Coast to Mountain is somewhat a surprise choice, I would say, from Bruh+Sitaux, because if you think about that, that's a very open map, and that could actually play to the strengths of Hera and Leary. Obviously, it is a hybrid map, and it is a nomad start, so it's not like Hera and Leary has a lot of experience on that, but it has a tendency to go late game, and that's where Hera and Leary will just dominate you, I think, on such open maps. So, Chinese Kumans are the global bans. Lithuanians, Ethiopians, Mayans, Malians, Persians for the first pool of Bruh+Sitaux. They go for a fairly decent mixture of cavalry and archer civs. Mali is an interesting early choice though, could be related to Coast to Mountain. Spanish, Burgundians, Turks, Burmese, Bulgarians are the civs in their second pool. Other side, Sicilians, Goths, Teutons, Celts, Portuguese being given to Tempo might be a bad move given the fact that Forest Pond is available in the map pool. Mongols, Vikings, Franks, Japanese, and Magyars coming in early for Tempo Storm. I would think that, as I said, Tempo likes to play these open maps like Cape of Storms. They might just go brute force Magyars and have Hera out micro everyone with the scouts. With that being said, before we jump into the first set of the day, let's take a look at Tempo Storm.
Playing for Tempo Storm, Hera and Leary might currently be the strongest duo in the world. They're the only team with two players in the top 4 that dominated the competitive scene over the past 12 months. Leary and Hera are young, they're fast, they're good friends, and since last year's Battle of Africa 2, they train as hard as anyone else. Hera and Leary excel at playing the meta. They choose maps favouring their strengths and opt for proven civilization picks, relying on their superior macro, micro, and team coordination to crush the opposition. While they may lack the ability to deviate from the meta, they are incredibly hard to beat when dictating the pace of the game. Tempo Storm as a team did not participate in the first 2 pools, but Hera played as a third for Aftermath. With MBL and Nikov, he ended up winning the whole tournament. Leary and Hera have also improved a lot, both individually and as a team, over the past year. They are competitive and they want to win. Nothing else than a victory will satisfy them.
And having seen that, it is, I believe, time to jump into the first game, which is going to be Arabia, probably the toughest game for Bruh+Sitaux here, and really, that's the place where I do expect Hera and Leary to dominate. So if Bruh+Sitaux want to win this one, then they have to go for the home map wins, I believe. So there was a show match between two pools, or between Tempo and GLA. Yes, it was last March, I believe, and it's a crazy series. It was a 7-game set, and it was insane. Especially the Regicide Fortress game that was 2 hours by itself. I think it was, the overall set was like 6.5 or 7 hours in a best of 7. So let us get going with the first game of the day. We will have Arabia coming in for Tempo Storm and Bruh+Sitaux. For Bruh+Sitaux, I don't think that the measurable is to beat Hera and Leary here, because I think that it's fairly obvious that Hera and Leary is one of the top teams of this tournament, and no one would be surprised if they won their actual group. So for Bruh+Sitaux, they will try to build some team chemistry here, hope to maybe pull an upset using the home maps of the opponents and their own home maps, and maybe try to snag the second place in this group. This group has Tempo Storm, Bruh+Sitaux, and two other teams. This is Group C with Heart and Lan and Suomi. So this is a stacked group as well. Bruh+Sitaux is going to have a tough time if they want to make it to the top 8 of the tournament, because only 2 advance from each group, and we have Tempo here, we have Suomi here, Lan and Heart, and Bruh+Sitaux. But as I said, this team has been the nemesis of Suomi in the qualifiers, destroying Rubenstock and Zupi. It wasn't an easy, it was an easy win for them overall. As we already have Sitaux coming in here with what could be a lame attempt, runs into the TC fire of Hera. As we will have Hera on the left side playing as Magyars in blue, so they will choose Magyars for Arabia. Makes sense for them overall. It's a good civilization over here, and Leary is going to be the archer player. I would expect this combination for Tempo Storm for most of the time. So Hera loves to play scouts, loves to play cavalry. Leary is excellent with archer micro, so it makes a lot of sense for them to combine players like this. Portuguese is a very, very good civilization overall as an archer civ, super underrated with the gold cost. With the free cartography, that helps quite a bit. You see, they can share vision on Arabia, which could be extremely helpful as well. So, while Portuguese obviously is not an S-tier archer civ on Arabia, it's a strong A-tier archer civ overall. So, there is nothing bad using Portuguese here. In fact, it's a very, very good civilization, especially if you compare to what other options teams would have. So, Hera has a beautiful woodland attack. I mean, this is just a dream. A crescent-shaped wood line here protecting his back. His gold mines aren't really great, though. This gold mine is bad. This gold mine is also quite underwhelming. This could be workable, but other than this wood line, Hera's base isn't impressing me. Leary's base isn't that much better either. His gold is on the front. He could use this gold at the back, and his base is relatively vulnerable. Barry is also working out nicely for him, but none of the maps are amazing for Tempo. We have a beautiful base for Bruh. Easy wall off on the left and the north, also on the right side, I would think, and a beautiful gold mine. Berries are also pretty nice, so this is a very, very good map overall for Bruh. And for Sitaux, his map is workable, I would say. He's got an okay-ish gold mine. The right side is a little bit open, but the left side should be well defendable. He's going to be playing Mayans in red, and Burgundians will be the civ for Bruh. So I think that both teams actually have a reasonable amount of reasonable quality civilizations here. It's tricky because I actually prefer Magyars over Burgundians by a massive margin. However, I also prefer Mayans over Portuguese. So this is going to be an interesting setup to look at. We'll have a scout civ on the north versus an archer civ, and vice versa. So it's scouts versus archers on both sides. Sitaux is actually keeping those sheep pretty far away from his TC, which could be a little bit troublesome. Like, Hera and Leary won't shy away from just trying to lame those sheep over there, so you gotta be really careful. You have to play it safe. Still, as I said, I think the biggest problem for Bruh+Sitaux on this map is that Hera and Leary are so good on Arabia. So, if there is one map where they are going to dominate, that's gonna be Arabia. So, we'll have Leary coming off with an early barracks here. It could still be a straight archers play, but I would think that with a barracks this early, this might end up being a man-at-arms play from our green player, trying to get some damage done early on with the man-at-arms. Hera will be obviously playing scouts here with 20 pop feudal for himself. Obviously we'll choose a second lumber camp spot over here on the only reasonable wood line for him, and he might be playing semi-open, so he doesn't necessarily have to wall because he's gonna have the early advantage of having powerful scouts working for him. You see blue pings. Hera is telling his teammate, hey, my opponent is here and my opponent is here, so they have a pretty decent scouting all across the base of the opponents, and you see that Hera is hunting for that scout. He's trying to take a fight when he reaches feudal age. They have a pretty decent scouting overall, and with shared vision, they are also able to share the information immediately. You don't even have to ping anything. Bruce slowly walling himself up, but his right side is still a little open, and what is more concerning is that his barracks will be late. This is a late barracks, if you think about that. You need to start making it at something like 50% or so. So with that, we'll have a scout fight over here, and this is an excellent one for Hera. He was waiting until he reaches feudal age and picks off the Dark Age scout of Sitaux. That was an excellent one. Magyar +1 attack also helps here quite immensely. So Sitaux is gonna have a bit of a hard time over here gathering information, as he's gonna go for the barracks just now. The timing is gonna be great. And indeed, Leary is coming with the men-at-arms, trying to delay the walls, and he picks off one villager and the other scout. Oh my goodness. Leary's got the hill, and all he needs to do is just delay that villager, because the men-at-arms will bash their way through the walls. Leary will try to pick that villager off, I believe, with the scout. Or at least he will poke and probe to see if he can do that. Villager for now is still alive, but that's -1 villager on the right side from Brew. Not necessarily an amazing start. Leary tries to yoink that villager over there, and the men-at-arms do break in. And that should be another dead villager, or not. Nice move from Brew to save that one. Brew is going to be fully walled, but the men-at-arms have broken through, so there will be moments of trouble, and he's the scout civ. And the scout civ always struggles against early men-at-arms openings, because there's just no chance for you to clean it up easily. You gotta fight it with your scouts. We got an interesting wall from coming in from Hera. I'm not sure why he's not walling to the edge of the map instead. But it looks like they will double down on Brew, who actually went for the rewalls. That's a very, very smart thing to do. So, very nice wall-offs from him as well. And with that, Hera isn't able to break into the opponent's base. I feel like, despite the fact that Bro lost one villager, it's not necessarily the end of the world for him. He is not with Horse Color though, which could be troublesome, so his early eco might be in trouble. You see that he's running out of goat. He has 4 villagers on berries, but one of them is actually stuck. And soon he's gonna have food issues. He needs to start dropping farms ASAP, but for that, he would ideally have Horse Color. And now the men-at-arms will actually try to help out Hera's scouts breaking in. Brew tries to trap those men-at-arms in there. Leary realizes that. And Leary is not going to allow that from happening. Nice team coordination over there from Tempo Storm. Leary preventing the revos. What a player. What a player, man. And this is why Tempo is definitely in the top 5 teams of the tournament, and probably even in the top 3. So that is looking extremely good for Tempo. The men-at-arms archers are in, and I mean, Sitaux is trying to send a couple of archers to relieve his teammate, but this is already looking really bad. The thing is that we somewhat expected Tempo to be very, very good on Arabia. And I did mention that I feel like if you're Bruh+Sitaux, you don't even count on winning Arabia. You count on your home maps, because that's your advantage over Hera and Leary. Being able to potentially outsmart them with strategies on maps that they might not be as well prepared for as they are for Arabia. As we have another villager getting picked off over here by Hera and Leary. Brew is down to 26 villagers, just dropping farms, so his food eco is not gonna be great. And they open up the walls for Sitau's archers to move in, but that's probably going to allow scouts from Hera as well. And the extra attack on the Magyar scouts helps so much here, because instead of taking 10 hits to kill a villager, it takes just 8. And that's a massive advantage that you save 2 hits here. Eventually they will clean this one up with Sitau's archers. The problem is that Brew has taken an insane beating. 28 villagers is not really ideal by any means. He is Burgundians, so technically he might have a small hope. But you see all these farms without Horse Color, that's going to have an insanely bad impact on your eco. Like, he had to go for it, but man, this many farms without Horse Color hurts my soul. And this is going to impact your eco in Castle Age, because you will have to reseed these farms early Castle Age, and that means that you will not be able to go for additional TCs. If you don't go for Horse Color as the Scouts build, you are most likely not going to be able to drop additional TCs in early Castle Age without you know, sacrificing some of your farms. So, with that, for now, Hera and Lear are just poking and probing, but look at those resources. Both of them will go up to Castle Age here, and really, I think they justify why they are considered the best team in their group, and honestly might be the best team as well in the entire tournament. It's going to be interesting how they play out in the playoffs against teams like Game of Legion potentially, or SY, or, well, now it's WWP. Beautiful moves over there, and Hera just runs past the TC over here, and he's going to hit the gold mine. Oh my goodness, Bruh is getting torn apart. He is getting torn apart here, and I feel like this might end up being a GG in early castle, because Bruh+Sitaux are not really close to going into Castle Age. They just can't plug this hole in here, as the army is just trickling in more and more. Sitaux will click up to Castle Age, but they will just get overrun by knights. Especially the early Magyar knights will be crazy. Hera actually went for a defensive tower here, so since he has a defensive tower and he hasn't mined stone, I would think this could be triple stable knights, and I could justify triple stable knights for Hera. Magyars will get the +2 attack immediately, you research +2 defense, and you have +2/+2 knights, and you can just go for triple stable knights. You should be able to afford a fairly consistent production. Might not be completely consistent, but you can't do anything else with your wood anyways, so might as well go for that. So, with that, we will have Sitaux defending his teammate here, but this is the moment where Leary and Hera might just switch towards Sitau's base, who is apparently having a bit of a party on the bay race here. 7 villagers overall jumping on it. Archers now coming in from Leary to get some picks over here on these straggler archers. Somewhat amazingly, Bruh finds a way to click up to Castle Age. I have no idea how, to be honest. I mean, he's still behind by a massive margin, but considering the beating that he has taken, that's a fairly impressive Castle Age time, I have to admit. He will go triple stables, so they are hoping in the Burgundian Cavalier to save the day, but the thing is that Burgundian Cavalier is actually even to a Magyar Knight in early castle, and it's gonna be better than a Magyar Knight once they get at least 1 attack upgrade. So, if there is one civ that can actually take a good early Castle Age fights against Magyars, then that is going to be potentially Burgundians. Archers from Sitaux moving in, and they might be trying to hit Leary. And if you look at the overall villager count, it's not that bad anymore. I mean, Bruh is still halfway up to Castle Age, so this is going to be slightly better for Leary's team, especially with Leary going for a second TC. Now crossbows from Leary breaking into the base of Sitaux, and this is the thing that you'd never want to see. Leary with crossbows inside your eco is an absolute disaster for you. Crossbows now coming in here. If they actually can harass Leary here a little bit, that could be helpful. Leary going for ballistics himself. Gives up on microing this army here, though. And look at Hera being a good teammate. That's so good. He's using that 1 HP scout to micro in front of his teammates' archers and prevent those crossbows from picking off the green crossbows very easily. Still, Sitaux is going to clean this one up. He's up to Castle Age, goes for fast ballistics, although against Leary, ballistics is not really helpful, to be honest. We'll have knights coming in now for Hera, so Leary's gonna have to go for some, or Sitaux is gonna have to go for some wars behind, and those are +2/+2 knights. The only way that you fight this is if you get instant Cavalier for Bruh, because the Cavalier will have 120 HP with Bloodlines, or well, not with Bloodlines, because they don't have Bloodlines for Burgundians, but Cavalier without Bloodlines are 120 HP, just like Knights with Bloodlines, and the Cavalier will have 12 attack base, whereas the Knights have 10/+2, so early Burgundian Cavalier is actually completely equivalent to an early Castle Age Magyar Knight. Once the Burgundians get an attack upgrade in, they actually have better cavalry than Magyars do in Castle Age. So now the Knights will actually intercept these crossbows, and that's not something that you want to see for Sitaux. That's quite a lot of Knights on the field, Knights coming in just now from Bruh. Cavalier kicks in just in time, and Bruh+Sitaux might not be completely dead yet. Second TC coming in for Sitaux. They're behind by 10 villagers, and they're definitely on the back foot. Hera will be playing on 3 TCs, Leary will do 2, and Leary might pick off a couple of villagers on the wood line of Bruh here. 1, 2, 3 nice snipes from Leary. Ballistics coming in now from Bruh+Sitaux, but I feel like Bruh+Sitaux are way less dead than they were 5 minutes ago. They are still in a tough spot, especially now that the cavalry and the archers will both focus down Bruh. Bruh needs some crazy walls behind this one, like stone wall here, house here. He's trying to get a TC up, but oh boy, he's not really reacting to this one. He's not really reacting to this. Now tries to house wall this, but this might be too late, and there is a hole in between the stables. It looks like knights will just dive on his stables, but guess what? That's a lot of crossbows heading towards Hera's base, and Hera could be in trouble here quite badly because his entire farming eco is exposed to this aggression. Hera goes for stable number 3 upon seeing his opponent being on 3 stables. Bruh apparently gives up on controlling that stable over there, so he loses 1 stable worth of production, but the crossbows do break into the base of Hera, so Hera's gonna have some unpleasant moments over here, even though most of his eco is protected by TCs. Still, there will be quite a lot of idle farming eco. The problem for Bruh+Sitaux is that Bruh's eco is once again idle as well, and he isn't really able to afford making more cavaliers without any gold income. As Leary jumps on the lumberjacks, oh, that's a slaughter. That's -5 villagers once again for Bruh. Just when they would have thought that they have a chance of coming back into this one, they just lost so many villagers. Now it's a 30 villagers lead for Tempo Storm, and while these crossbows are picking off farms and idling Hera's villagers, ultimately they're not killing Hera, whereas Bruh is actively dying with 2 more villagers going down on the farms. It is an insane unit control from Tempo Storm, and like, as long as these crossbows aren't able to absolutely annihilate Hera, this isn't going to work well for them, and Hera is just waiting for the knights to mass up here and then take one decisive fight to take down this entire army. Now crossbow support coming in here for Sitaux, but Leary has been completely untouched the entire game, and Sitaux as well, sort of, but Bruh's eco is just in ruins. 36 villagers in a 28 minutes game is far from ideal, and these crossbows are just unable to do anything. You don't even use them right now because both of the warm color players are actually capable of just microing this one first. So, what's my favorite team in the tournament? I don't really have a favorite team because, you know, it would be fairly unfortunate if the host of the tournament would have a favorite team. So, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. So, I'm just rooting for good games, honestly. I don't care who wins. It's about, let's have good games, because that's the most important part for a host of a tournament. So, cleanup finally happened, but Bruh's eco is at 39, and if you compare to the other cavalry player, it's 79. And those crossbows have to do a lot of damage to Hera to have any shot in this game. Leary bringing in his own crossbows to help out as Hera... What is... Hera, we have to talk. Hera, that seems like a very, very bad waypoint, man. That seems like a very, very bad waypoint, with villagers trickling through the entire map. Oh my goodness. He actually runs... I think he might have accidentally selected those villagers alongside his knights or something, but he definitely had random villagers trickling through the map, and I did mention that Sitaux and Bruh have to do a lot of killing inside Hera's base to make it happen. Like, Lear is going into Imperial, and when he reaches Imp, I feel like this game should be over, because neither of the warm color players are actually close to Imp. But at least Bruh+Sitaux might have a small, like a very, very small shot at climbing back, but it's going to be awfully hard. Bruh has 67 crossbows, but he needs to finish off Leary before Leary gets to Arbalest. That's the problem, and Leary's gonna be able to spam Arbalest with the cheaper gold cost on Portuguese. An interesting TC coming in here for Bruh. It's going to be on the gold mine, but it's very, very exposed. He's at 49 villagers still, 40 villagers lead for Tempo Storm. They just had a so seamless transition from Feudal Age aggression into Castle Age pressure, and those crossbows can't afford to be intercepted by all those knights. Those are +2/+2 knights, and even though it's 70 crossbows right now for Sitaux, I feel like that number is gonna drop by 16 very soon. It is essential not to allow crossbows to be intercepted by cavalry like that. Leary 40 seconds away from Imperial, and even though he only has 40 crossbows to upgrade into Arbs, that's still going to be enough, especially with Bracer. Chemistry coming in immediately, probably for him. And even if he loses the first wave, the second wave is going to clean this one up. So Hera also getting ready to click up into Imperial, and Sitaux clicked up as well, but Sitaux can't afford to lose his numbers right now. That's the problem. He's trying to take a fight as good as possible, but I don't think Sitaux has 2.5 minutes to fight this. That's the problem. Like, he's trying to pick off the crossbows, but at this point it's tricky because you can't run away because Hera's just going to chase you down. But if you don't run away, you will just lose your numbers before Imperial Age comes in and you get Arbalest. Now, this is actually a fairly decent fight for Sitaux, I have to give him that. That he managed to pick off so many knights, and at the end of the day, Bruce has 57, or Sitaux has 57 crossbows. He's up against 50 arbs though now. Leary already setting up trade in the corners, and it's still 1.5 minutes away from Sitaux. That's a very, very long 1.5 minutes to wait. And more importantly, the weak factor here is Brew, that is still unable to go up anytime into Imperial. And even though these are Cavaliers, don't have +4 defense, and Cavaliers without +4, especially without Bloodlines, they just die to Arbs. So now you will try to take as good fights here as possible, but I feel like Brew has taken a too big punishment in Feudal and Early Castle to be able to overcome such a deficit. Had he not lost like 10 Vogers in Castle, this would be slightly better for him. But Hera was on 3 TCs for the whole game, now it's adding TC number 4. Whereas TC number 3 just now came in for Brew, so 65 Vogers against 118. Imperial Age is in for Sitaux, and Mayans are still a crazy archer sip, but currently we're looking at a 1v2. Bracer coming in now, and now Hera and Leary commit because they know exactly that they don't want Arbs for Sitaux. Sitaux can't afford Arbs, but Hera's gonna lose all his cavalry. I mean, when Hera reaches Imperial, he's gonna have +4 attack immediately, so Magyar cavalry will be fairly dangerous here. Archer armor-wise, look at those. Leary has fully upgraded Arbs, even though Sitaux does have the hill. Sitaux is missing +4 defense, missing chemistry, missing Arb, so his army here isn't really amazing. And I feel like the biggest problem that Brew and Sitaux will suffer from is that Brew is just so dead currently. We'll have a university coming in for Brew, maybe thinking about clicking up, but his resources aren't looking great. For that, 50 free Arbs soon versus 55, but there is gonna be no cavalry component for the army of Hera and Leary. We're gonna have a big ARP fight over here. No chemistry, no +4 defense just yet for Sitaux. So even though both players have cavalry jumping around, and the micro I think is slightly better for Sitaux because he's focusing down the archers, whereas Leary just lets his crossbows shoot at the cavalry, so this was slightly better overall for Sitaux. But there is just no cavalry still for Brew and Sitaux, that's the problem. Like, they will have some Castle Age cavalry, but that's not going to save the day. Nice hill control over here from Sitaux. I have to say that I'm somewhat pleasantly surprised by the fact that we will have Sitaux being somewhat even, I would say, to Leary. From the perspective that he wasn't beaten that much. The crossbow numbers were there, the imp timing was slightly worse for Sitaux, but I mean, keeping up with Leary is always hard. And Leary and Hera take game number 1. I think it was basically triggered by the fact that Hera reached Imperial, but we did mention that if there is one game where Brew and Sitaux shouldn't be upset to lose, it's Arabia. The massive advantage should be on the hands of Hera and Leary on Arabia. There should be no doubt about that one. So, if you actually want to win the series, then you have to win on your own home maps. Brew and Sitaux losing Arabia, but as I said, the key for them is to make sure that they are able to win their own home maps and potentially yoink one away from the opponent. So that's what they will actually attempt to do in this set. So we'll go either to Coast to Mountain or Forest Pond. So let's get going with the second game. The second game will be Coast to Mountain. So a nomad start, that's what they choose first. That's their first home map here. They have Lithuanians and Persians available for this map, but they can only choose one of those. And they'll have to accompany that with something like Spanish, maybe, or maybe Turks could be an idea, although Turks seems like the cavalry ship for Cape of Storms. Other side, it looks very much like Hera and Lyri will be going for Mongols from Pool 1, and then the map is fairly open for potential Goths play here, or alternative is Celts to fight on water, but instead, let's take a look at the game itself. So, welcome to Coast to Mountain. We're gonna have Bruh+Sitaux playing on the right side in warm colors. We'll have red for Sitaux and Bulgarians, interestingly, and we have Malians. I forgot about Malians being the first pick here, and Malians is a civilization that has an excellent nomad start. You see that Bruh is going to move to the shoreline. He's gonna be the one fighting on water, whereas Sitaux will play land aggression. The main question is what kind of land aggression, because I feel like a man-at-arms play is very underwhelming here. But if it's not a man-at-arms play, I don't really see the point of picking Bulgarians on this map for now. Other side, Tempo goes for a different approach. We'll have Lyri playing Mongols here in green in the middle, going for all the hunt. So obviously, if you play Mongols, you place your TC in the middle because of all the hunt. Whereas if you play basically water, then you will place your TC most likely over here. On the left side, it looks like Hera's gonna be playing Goths in blue. The map is very, very open, so even early Gothic aggression with potential Huskars could be very interesting overall. Hera also finds a beautiful TC spot here for himself. He's got quite a lot of deer right next to it, and also an Elephantarino to bring in. You start with 2 Bactrian camels, so they are going to be able to scout the entire map here because you do have auto scout available on them, and since they are not combat units, you will just set them on auto scout eventually, so everybody should have 100% scouting. But here's the strategy difference, and that's what I was talking about. If Bruh+Sitaux wants to win, they have to win with better strategies, not better execution, because they won't have better execution than Hera and Lyri, that's for sure. Because Hera and Lyri might be both in the top 5 in terms of execution. In fact, they are fairly certain to be in the top 5 in terms of execution. So you have to win with better strategies, and it looks like now we have a different strategy lineup for Bruh+Sitaux versus Tempo. We'll have 2 docks coming in from our warm color team. Only 1 dock, it is Hera docking only. It looks like Lyri won't go for a dock, but obviously Lyri has the Mongol hunt in exchange, so it's not really a big deal from that perspective. Still, Mongol's hunt is nice, but in the mid to long term, the fishing eco is actually slightly better. Because, obviously, if you consider the fact that you have some extra villagers so far, well, not really villagers, but extra eco working for you that helps quite a bit, and when the hunt runs out for the Mongols, or at least they will be a lot further away to lure them in, then suddenly the fishing eco is going to start becoming a lot better. This is indeed a nomad start, so the main reason why you see the TCs being at different positions is because this is a nomad start. So Bulgarians for Sitaux in red, he actually lured in 2 elephants, for now also has some hunt. One thing that's interesting to consider is that oftentimes you don't make a mill in Dark Age on this map. You go for the dock and you go for a lumber camp as your buildings to go up, but eventually you will have to start adding farms in here, so players shouldn't forget about mills, and most likely we'll just mill one of these huntables here. So I sort of like Bruh+Sitaux's position here a tiny bit better when it comes to just their position in the game. 5 villagers lead, and you see that the first to click up is actually Sitaux, and not Lyri. Lyri might be playing fast castle here, although I'm not 100% sure. No, he queued up feudal. And this is what I was talking about with the water control, that it's nice that you have Mongols hunt, but Lyri is doing a 21 pop feudal, essentially. Whereas Sitaux actually was able to pick up faster because he's got 3 fishing ships consistently working for him, shore fishing voyager as well, and you also had the hunt working for you too, so I feel like Sitau's start here is looking slightly better, and it's going to be a fast man-at-arms play, it looks like, from Sitaux. He will try, actually... No, this Barracks is too late for fast man-at-arms. This looks like a Scouts play only from our red player, Hera. Not clicking up yet either. This might be an FC from Hera though, because he's already at 29 eco, including fishing ships. He's heavy on the fish boom, and this could be troublesome for tempo, because it looks like Leary will fight water. This is so weird from Leary. This isn't really a clean build, I would say, from him, because he did dock, and he's now going for 2 docks for fire galleys. He will be fighting water, but it kind of feels like he just realized he has to fight water. I was just about to say that if Leary doesn't fight water, then Hera's just going to lose all his fishing eco, because Hera's going for a fast castle here. He is not sending vultures to stone, so it's not a direct Huskar play, probably just knights to start. But I like Malians a lot better on water than Mongols, and more importantly, if you delay Mongols, then they're not super amazing. I mean, Malians are way better on water than Mongols are, especially if Malians beat Mongols in terms of fuel age timing, and here come the Scouts. This is looking like a way better strategy for Bruh+Sitaux, and that's exactly what they need to secure a win against Hera and Leary. So it looks like Bruh is going to be playing triple dock fire galleys. For now, he can only afford to produce on 2, but still, look at this. Leary just reached feudal. He's going to go for an immediate galley. So he tries to snipe fishing ships, but that galley will mean that he won't really be able to take direct engagements against fire galleys. And with that, I would think that the water should slowly start falling into the hands of Bruh+Sitaux. And more importantly, Leary's eco is quite open. You see that he's luring in elephants. Look at this Leary. Look at this kid, man. Oh, the teamwork! I'm just noticing this is not even Leary's camel. Oh, find a teammate that will do this for you, man. Oh, it's so wholesome. Hera using his own camel to block the elephant from Leary, so that Leary's vulture isn't taking damage from that. That's just some excellent teamwork. Anyways, that doesn't change the fact that Hera and Leary will most likely lose water control, and more importantly, because Hera is fast castling, the scouts that will be coming in from Sitaux will be able to intercept villagers, and that's not villager number 1 going down for Hera over there, and Leary's villagers here are super exposed as well. That's the problem for Leary and Hera. They don't have any land army, so to say. Fast castle here from Hera could pay off, but they're losing all their fishing eco. And one of the things to point out is that if you don't have fishing eco working for you, and your opponent does have it, even if you fast castle, your opponent will be able to catch up. So you should see Bruh+Sitaux being able to afford castlage in the foreseeable future. Leary going for the walls quickly over here. Scouts just now arriving, and the scouts will actually sneak past. Leary doesn't have anything to defend against this one, and if he is forced to evacuate his gold mine, then he's not gonna be able to mass fire galleys, and they will lose water. 70 to 53 eco lead. Hera is on the way to Castle Age, but what is he going to do exactly with that? Especially with the lack of food eco he has. Hera right now has 10 on food. I'm not sure where they are. They're on hunt. But he doesn't have any consistent food income like farms whatsoever, and Leary is getting stomped. Hera is forced to make Gothic scouts here. So the start here seems a lot better from Bruh+Sitaux, 76 eco compared to 49, and this fishing eco is going to start kicking in like crazy for our warm color team. Castle Age will be in here for Sitaux in a moment as well. So it is for Bruh, and I also like how Bruh is bowling himself off in this little corner, preventing Hera from potentially raiding his eco. So Castle Age is in for Hera, but only 1 stable is available to produce knights on, so yeah, Hera's in Castle Age, but he doesn't really have anything going for him. So he's just going to start making knights. He won't be able to hit Bruh, or at least he isn't supposed to be able to, and they will soon be up against 2 players in Castle Age, although Leary is also going into Castle, but it's an 81 to 49 villagers lead here in this case. The main problem could be Sitaux being wide open, and that could be very troublesome. He could be overrun by knights. So we'll see what Sitaux is up to. He's super heavy on gold. That's something to point out. He's got 18 on gold, man. So these are the knights coming in. I like how Bruh is walling. He's gonna be safe for the time being unless he overchops that Acacia 3 line. But more importantly, the weak factor could be Sitau's walling here. I feel like if Sitaux just had a wall here, that would already help quite a lot. Second TC coming in just now for Leary, but they're behind by a massive margin. 30 Voyagers at the end of the day is no joke. And the fishing eco here is going to be something that Leary and Hera won't be able to raid, and that's an extremely important thing. MBL would love to see these wars. Talk about the team wars, man. Feels a little ambitious, to be honest, but if it goes up, it's a nice team wall, I have to say. You're literally walling from coast to mountain if you are Leary, or if you're Bruh+Sitaux. Double TC play from Hera for the time being. It seems like he's sort of just booming, adding a couple of knights, but not really going for an awful lot. So he's got like one knight over here, a camel, and 2 more knights on the field, that's it. Considering that they have the knights advantage, they could actually afford to have Leary moving out for a hunt. And with that, we're gonna have the wars slowly going up for Sitaux, because there isn't really much of an army here for Hera and Leary. Cheaper Bulgarian TCs will help quite a bit for Sitaux here as well, as they now secure water control for themselves. 21 Voyagers lead currently for Bruh+Sitaux, and I did mention that if you want to find a way for Bruh+Sitaux to win this set, that's gonna be through their own home maps. Because these are, at least many of these maps are not standard maps, which means that Hera and Leary might actually have trouble on them, especially considering that Bruh+Sitaux had to qualify, so they played more on these maps than Hera and Leary did most likely, even if both teams prepared. Second TC almost up for Sitaux. Here comes the third one as well. 3 TCs already for Bruh+Sitaux, and they can afford a boom much easier now because they have a massive food eco. 90 Voyagers to 76. The Voyager lead is shrinking, by the way, so the thing is that you have to be careful. The early eco lead was crazy for Bruh+Sitaux, but eventually, if it's just a 3 TC booming from everybody, then tempo will eventually come back, because their micro is probably slightly better, but more importantly, 10 Voyagers lead in Feudal is much more important than 10 Voyagers lead in Imperial. So even if they just keep the distance in terms of Voyager count, that's a big thing. 50 Voyagers for Bruh, and if you look at Hera, he's at 50 as well. Leary is the weak factor currently because he lost quite a lot to the raids early on as well. It looks like Sitaux was adding a couple of knights, and Bruh went for a couple of camels to do some harassment. Makes some sense. I mean, you just try to annoy Leary as much as possible here, trying to get through his wars or so. You still have to be careful though, because Goths and Mongols might be 2 of the most dangerous post-imp civilizations. So you don't really want to allow your opponent to boom fully into Mangudai and potentially Huskars, because that's an easy way of dying if you just let your teammate or let your opponent do that. 3 TCs for now for Sitaux. 57 Voyagers currently for him. They will soon have to start adding fish traps. I love how many docks Bruh is doing here. So he's gonna make his fishing eco slightly more efficient. So to say, eco upgrades are even for everybody with Boso and Horse Scholar. Hera booming like crazy, 61 Voyagers, catches up to the opponent, and this is what I was talking about. Do you actually want to let tempo boom? But here's the deal. There's a forward siege workshop coming in here from Bruh+Sitaux. I feel like that's actually quite late, so they probably didn't want to do this, but then they start to realize that, oh shoot, my opponent can just boom back in this one. But if both Tempo Storm players are just booming, then suddenly a Mangonel push here could be very devastating against Leary. And even if Hera booms up completely, I think that Bruh is gonna have a better chance at pushing Leary. And Sitaux, all he needs to do is just boom himself, and then get to like 200 swordsmen with Bagains, and he's just going to clap everything that gods have on the field, basically. So Leary's base looks like something that could be really easily pushed, especially because Leary doesn't really have a lot of gold left over here, and he doesn't have any gold income from the left side either. One of the things that isn't really there for Temp Custom right now is map control, as Leary's already mining stone though So I feel like this mangonel aggression is gonna be late. Leary could potentially drop a defensive castle fairly soon. So 4 TC coming in here for Hera, only 3 TC boom from Bruh+Sitaux as well. And as I said, the Voyager lead is shrinking. At some point we talked about the 30 Voyagers lead, now it's only 11. And you don't want fully boomed Mongols and Gods against you. And now with that castle going up, this Siege Workshop will be utterly useless. The best thing you can do is like Workshop here and then push this TC. But I feel like Sitaux and Bruh might be letting this slip out of their grasp. They just let Hera and Leary boom so well. Like, you can do two things. You either boom yourself and just capitalize on the early advantage and boom even more than your opponent does. Or the alternative is that you're just going to try and push them. Monks will get picked off, a camel gets converted, extremely important conversion because the camel in such a situation is better than a knight because the camel does more damage to the knights than knights do to camels. So, looks like Hera's just spamming Spearman right now. Pikeman is in as well. Scorpions coming in for Bruh, but I feel like this push isn't going to accomplish much. Imperial Age soon in for Sitaux though. As we will have the Scorpions coming out. Interesting to decide by Scorpions. I guess it's against the Pikemen, but it's not going to take down the TCs, that's for sure. And if you get some Mangadai, they can snipe down siege weapons fairly easily. So it looks like we will have some outposts dropped for Sitaux for some vision. And look at that, Sitaux actually made a scout to chase down the camels of the opponent. You can tell that these are auto-scouting camels because they follow the same path. But, oh, look at this. The scout is actually chasing down the camels. In this one, TC number 4 coming in here for Bruh, expanding on the shoreline towards additional gold mines, as that longswordman is taking a valiant effort, and that's the problem of Gods. They are an infantry-based civ, but guess what? Bulgarians are amazing just killing infantry. Imperial Age will be coming in for Sitaux in a moment, missing buildings, that's why he hasn't flicked up just yet. And Scorpion will now... Oh, this is so unlucky for Bruh. He is going to take a very, very disappointing engagement over here against Pikemen. Have 0 upgrades, but the Scorpions went down so easily. I did feel like this fight is not going to help at all for Bruh+Sitaux. This Mangonel or Siege Workshop just came in too late. So, I think the Malian player kind of has to tech into champion himself, and I would say that the Bulgarian player might have to... This is interesting because you don't want to go double champion. But the Malian champion have 8 pierce armor, so Mangadai don't do much against them. On the other hand, there is a bunch of melee armor on the swordsmen of the Bulgarians. And the Bulgarian infantry is slightly better performing against the Gothic infantry than Malian infantry is. But Malian infantry withstands a lot more punishment from Mangadai. So this is a tricky decision to make over here. And yeah, the alternative would be that Bulgarians could very well go for potentially Cav Archers as well, if they want to. And then go champions for Bruh. I don't like that he's using this TC for imping. He's not gonna get punished for it whatsoever. But he would be using this TC ideally. Imp will be faster for both of our warm color players than it is for the cold color players. And the reason why double champions is bad is because onagers, because of scorpions, especially onagers. So Mongol onagers with drill will just eat champions. You don't go double champions at all. That's why. So, Mangadai numbers steadily increasing, and that's going to be a little bit troublesome because neither Bulgarians or Malians have good skirmishers against them. So the best thing they can do is like champion with Malians that just absorbs the fire, and then you can just slowly turtle your way forward. It looks like we have a castle up here for Hera, working towards another castle soon. Infantry armor coming in for Sitaux. So Sitaux wants to spam swordsman here in the face of the Gothic player. He already is preparing the siege workshops, but his push isn't going to be super fast. And one of the underrated advantages of Bulgarians is that they get the swordsman upgrades for free immediately. And that's huge, because you see that Hera is gonna need a lot of time to tech into swordsman. It's often underappreciated how much time it takes to tech into swordsman. You have to go through a chain of upgrades, men-at-arms, long swordsman, 200 swordsman, champion to get there, and that takes so much time, and Bulgarians save a lot of time with that. That's perfusion first for Hera, so no anarchy, he's just gonna go for his own champions, but honestly, like, Gothic champions will be absolutely eaten by Sitau's swordsmen. There is Bagains coming in, so those guys will have, like, I think plus 6 melee armor for a combined 9. I always forget what Bagains give you because it's a fairly rare upgrade. Perfusion is in for Hera, so you see that the flood of longswords will eventually happen, but I mean, he's still just longswords level, and it's actually 8 melee armor, which means that Hera's longswords will not do much, and Hera is also missing the final armor upgrade for his infantry, because gods don't have that. I don't necessarily like that the swordsmen are fighting inside the range of the castle, as now it's 200 swordsmen from both sides, but I mean, swordsman versus swordsman, the Bulgarians will just eat the gods. The problem is that there is Mangadai here as well, but look at that castle drop, and this is what I was talking about. This turns into 2 separate 1v1s instead of taking a 2v2, and Leary had to move to the left side to help Hera, because the composition is better for Sitaux than it is for Hera. And what is Sitaux doing in response? He's going for Farimba heavy camos, which could be a reasonable idea here. Onagers on the way for Sitaux as well against the infantry. Farimba not in just yet. I think you would like to see some Farimba light cav in front as well, because the camos still die pretty easily to the cav archers, and there is gonna be some halberdiers as well. But here's the tricky thing, Leary can't afford to lose his castles. Leary is on 3 castles, even losing one hurts really badly here. So you gotta be careful. Nice move with the Mangadai though, to snipe down the Trebs. That's exactly what you have to do. Leary, if he loses his castles, this game is over, because they will just get overrun with swordsmen. So now it's champion from Hera. I'm getting blast furnace in, but you see that these champions have 70 HP, 3 melee armor against 60 HP, but 8 melee armor. Even Gothic champions don't win against the Bagain swordsman, and Lear is gonna have to be there on both sides. Help out against these swordsmen on the left, and also help out on the right side, and as I said, keeping those castles up is crucial for Leary. The longer he keeps them up, he's gonna have more Mangadai, and at this point, Bruh is trying to wall off his traps to prevent the swordsman from taking it down, but Mangadai can do just the same, and I feel like Bruh might be losing this forward position here to Leary. Leary keeping his castles live, and here's the deal. Now the camos are trying to jump on the Mangadai on the other side. Onager comes in here from Sitaux, and that could be a big Onager hit over there. Mangadai, beautiful team coordination from Leary and Hera sniping down the Onager. But still, now it is the Bulgarian champion absolutely tearing apart Hera's champs. Mangadai will dive in to try and snipe the Trebs. Nice move over there from Leary. Leary is losing some of the Mangadai numbers over here, but the castle still stays up, and that's important. Leary also keeps his own castle alive, and he takes down the opponent's castle here, so it looks like they can't finish off this push here. Mangadai are just so good at sniping Trebs and slowing this one down. So, coinage now coming in for Leary and Hera. No trade from either team just yet, but there is quite a lot of extra gold on this map. Speaking of extra gold, the map control is better for Sitaux and Bruh, so they should have a slightly easier time accessing extra gold in here. 120 army for Tempo, 33 for Bruh and Sitaux, and did mention that theoretically you have the answer to Goths and Mongols with Malians and Bulgarians. But, and there's a big but in this, Mongols and Goths might be 2 of the scariest civs in post-Imperial in the entire game, and you really don't want to let them get there. Now it's going to be Champ Scars from Bruh. He's going to start teching into those, but I feel like Mangadai Onager wins everything here. So I just don't see anything being able to stop Mangadai Onager other than like your own Onagers, but that feels a little bit off. Now with his hair just flooding that castle, brute force taking it down with the champions, and the Mangadai will actually try to snipe the swordsman. It looks like Hera and Leary are coming back into this game, and I think that the strategy was better for Bruh and Sitaux. They just, by the time they decided they want to push in Castle Age, it was too late, and they allowed Hera and Leary to boom into a crazy post-Imperial Swordsman just now coming in for Brew. This could still be scary for Leary because he's not gonna have anything to stop this one, but I think Hera can just make a couple of barracks over here and spam his own champions into the opponent, and it looks like we'll have barracks coming in here from Brew as well. Tempo Storm takes over in the score. These swordsmen are still being annoying here, but army numbers 140 against 72. The Gothic Flood is just happening here. Voyager is going down left and right. If you look at the Voyager KD, Sitaux lost 33 even though he killed even though he killed 27. And that's the problem. 57 elite Mangudai. How do you even stop that? Nice quick fall from Hera, by the way, to block the movement of those champions. The swordsman might take down the Trebs over here, sort of, so they at least kill something. But they're actually fighting within the range of that castle, which is far from ideal. Where is the swordsman flood though? Because Brew is preparing a swordsman flood, and we shouldn't underestimate this. Because Sitaux is stalling this one out for the time being. And if Sitaux stalls this one out, that's a huge, huge bonkers force of 50 Mangudai, and Palisade Walls won't stop them, especially if there is a hole like that over there. But the champions will start pushing Leary, and Leary might have to react to that. Because the champions with Arson and all that Pierce Armor would just melt the castles and Leary would lose his production. Still, indeed, when the Mangudai break into your base, it is over, and the start was way better for Bruh+Sitaux. However, at the end of the day, two of the best post-team civilizations in the entire game, Mangudai with Mongols and Swordsmen or any kind of infantry flood with Goths. And Tempo was allowed to boom back into this game, and with that, they are able to secure game number 2 as well. Nice comeback from them. Seed number 1 in their group, showing up strong. And I feel like this was definitely a better game from Bruh+Sitaux than Arabia, but it was not quite enough. With that, we'll have Forest Pond coming in. I think that Forest Pond seems like a slightly better map for Bruh+Sitaux. It plays to their strengths a little bit more. It's a closed map. I don't necessarily like them picking an open map against Hera and Leary like Coast to Mountain, because Hera and Leary are so good on their open maps. And with that, indeed, we are going to Forest Pond. So, game number 3 coming in here. We're going to one of my favorite maps in the entire tournament. Especially if Capture Age doesn't die on me. Where is that Forest Pond copy pasta? Yeah, indeed, that Forest Pond copy pasta is something I love. So, if someone can find it, that's always one way to entertain chat with those fancy copy pastas. So, we're going to Forest Pond, a map that was first featured in 2-Pose-1. It was an original map made for 2-Pose-1, and it was rarely played in other tournaments before. We'll have Hera and Leary playing on the south in cold colors. Hera will be picking Celts in a blue, and Leary will be playing Vikings in green. The first time where I feel like their civs aren't really amazing for the map that they are playing. I mean, Celts and Vikings are workable here, but they don't really have a good cavalry civ. It's not like it's necessarily needed, because this is a closed map, so like Celtic Haben Siege and then Viking Arbalest Siege or Berserk Siege could actually be decent overall. Other side, we have Spanish for Sitaux in red and Persians for Brew in yellow. I like these civs a lot better, although post-Imp they are also somewhat troublesome because you have 2 cavalry civs, so to say. Persians, by the way, is their Pool 1 civilization, and Pool 2 is Spanish, so Spanish was given to them. And this is the map where balancing the water and land investments is really tricky. I would think that so far the best strategy seems like that one player fights water, especially with a civ like Persians that's very, very good on fighting water. And on the other side, you have Spanish, which means that you can potentially castle drop your opponent. And Spanish trading post-team could be extremely helpful as well. This is a slightly better civilization, I believe, for Bruh+Sitaux, especially given the fact that some of your sheep spawn on the outside, and Bruh is going to lame 2 sheep away from Hera. That's a very, very good start, I would say, for them. Now the scout HP is not really favoring them, but it's not that big of a deal, although if Hera wants to be aggressive, he can deny deer push. Because the deer is always on the outside, and if you have the HP advantage with your scout, you can just deny your opponent from accessing the hunt over there. Early dock coming in here with Persians, as we will have the fishing eco being set up here by Bruh. It's a quite unfortunate dock. In fact, it's a very unfortunate dock. Holy smokes, look at the deep fish spawns. These are the deep fish, and this is the dock. I mean, the dock went up right next to the shorefish, so it makes sense, but this would have been a much, much luckier spot with this other shorefish. Still, it sometimes happens. We'll have a dock coming in here for Leary in green, and we'll also have Hera playing in blue, going for a dock. And obviously, everyone will go for the food eco on water. The question is who is going to fight water. I would think that Sitaux will try to go for a land-based aggression with Conquistadors, so Leary is gonna have to be prepared for that, potentially adding houses even early on over here to prevent early Conquistadors from breaking through the walls. That's a nice thing that you can do to prepare for a Conquistador aggression. His gold mine isn't really great, his stone mine is workable, so that should be alright for him. He still keeps the gate open, but his scout actually goes towards the base of the opponent. Nice reaction over there from Sitaux, closing the gate before the scout would enter. And Loom, that's a fast Loom, it's a very, very fast Loom from Leary. But what for? What for is he going for Loom? Interesting. Was he about to get housed? I wasn't paying attention to that. It might have been the reason, because he just finished the house. So there could have been a reason of going for Loom, because otherwise it makes zero sense. But whichever way, it feels somewhat disappointing, you know, for them to go for Loom here early on, because that's something that you prefer to skip. And it looks like we're gonna have a slightly faster fuel age here from Leary. Bruh actually decides to go for 1 extra Voyager compared to his counterpart. But obviously faster working Persian docks will help quite a lot when it comes to getting fire galleys out. And with that, we'll have 1 dock for each player. Leary sending all the Voyagers to wood. Leary is going to be fighting on water with galleys. The question is if Hera's gonna do the same here. Because with Celts you can definitely do that. Or the alternative is to go for a fast castle into like a siege push. Or so. And it seems like he's doing that because he's adding farms. Adding farms in such a situation means that you probably want to FC this one. So this is an interesting decision from Hera. Going for an FC, potentially land-based push against Bruh, especially against Persians that have TCs that survive for so long. A second dock coming in here from Bruh, close to the middle of the map. This helps quite a bit at, you know, chasing down the opponent's galleys here. And one of the reasons why I don't like galleys for water fight here, for Hera and Leary, is because there is limited space to move. I mean, what is this? That's either a capture age bug, or Leary, that has to be a capture age bug. I mean, he said GLHF in the moment he reached fuel age. That makes zero sense. That feels like a capture age bug to me. So we'll have a Loom just now coming in for Sitaux, indeed going 29 eco up. Seems like an FC with 3 on stone. And I would think it's just going to be a castle drop in the face of Leary. Overall. As Hera's also going for an FC. Slightly faster castle age time will be there for him compared to his opponent. But his fishing eco is going to be very exposed to that first fire guy. Look at that. The first fire guy pops out and it's going to head immediately towards the other side. Because Lear is going to go in with his own galleys to pick off fishing ships. And one thing to consider as Hera is pinging his teammate, hey, my opponent's fire galleys are here. That is that galleys kill fishing ships a lot easier. So Leary can just dive in, kill fishing ships, and then dive out. It's much harder to kill fishing ships with fire galleys than it is to kill them with galleys. So you see that Sitaux already lost 2 of his fishing ships, and he will probably lose a 3rd one here in a moment. Still, the fire galleys will be able to chase down those galleys, and that's going to be very inefficient overall for Leary. As you see that it's one thing that, you know, the Fire Galleys will chase them down in such narrow and small spaces. There is not really a lot of space to fall back to, but you also have to do a lot more babysitting on your galleys, and boom. Even though Sitaux lost 2 of his fishing ships, Hera now has to add the second dock. So they're somewhat scrambling to keep their fishing eco alive, and now the good move from Bruh would be to move in with his Fire Galley towards the Bay of Hera and try to finish that one off. Leary is trying his best to micro with galleys, but that's why Vikings is not a good civ for this map. There's just nowhere to micro with your Fire Galleys. I think Leary is trying to block the passage of the Fire Galleys. Indeed, he's doing that. Look at Leary with the micro nerd, man. He's using his fishing ships to block the movement of the Fire Galleys so they can't chase the galleys. That still doesn't change the fact that Leary and Hera are losing water really badly here. So, just as much as a demo coming in here, not really doing much. I don't even know why you make a demo here, because there is no Fire Galleys out here and you don't want to demo just galleys. But as much as they won the war in the previous game, they do it right now as well. And the Castle Age is already coming in as well for Sitaux. And here's the castle drop. I mean, Leary's gotta expect this. Leary has to expect this. Hera's on the way to Castle Age, but I feel like Hera's Castle Age push feels a lot more underwhelming than what Sitaux could actually accomplish. I like that he's keeping villagers on stone, so he could potentially drop a second castle soon. And look at that, Bruh and Sitaux are both having their scouts here to potentially pick off Leary's scout and make sure that he can't spot the castle drop, even though I think this should be expected. Leary, massive market usage to try to buy himself up a Castle Age, but I think at this point... Oh, Bruh. I mean, he knows that Hera's going for a fast castle against him with siege push, and he's like, not on my watch. Holy triple layer stone walls. Like, he is going to make sure that those opponents don't get through. So, that's gonna be a castle drop in the face of Leary. A castle here would be crazy good because you would deny a gold and the stone with it. That would be an excellent spot. Or you can just drop it right over here on the stone mine. Hera will go for free TCs here. And Bagum is right about the fact that Hera doesn't necessarily have to push. He can just boom. The question is, if Hera is just booming, Bruh could do the exact same thing, supported by fish. And Persian free TC boom could also be pretty strong, and Leary is going to have some tough moments here. He's going to stonewall his base, but guess what? He's got nowhere to go at the back of his base. He's gonna have nowhere to go in the front of his base. He's mining stone, so I guess he wants a defensive castle, but he's so far away from that. And I mean, even if he stonewalls this, the Conquistadors will hit his gold mine. He is 150 away from Castle Age, so no onagers, or onagers? No monks just yet from him in the foreseeable future. And that scout actually gets himself in. Oh, look at that Sitaux blocking the foundation of the wall. That's so good. And the Conquistador will actually be able to get here. That's not a wall from Leary. And even though he is going to wall behind, that gold mine is gone. And there's just nowhere to go for Leary. If he loses all this part of his base, the back of his base is wide open as well. And Castle Age coming in here for Bruh. Hera will go for a free TC boom, that's totally true, but I feel like Bruh will just do the exact same thing, and Leary is just gonna get smashed by the Conquistadors here. Another layer of stone walls, but you could really make a case for a galley now for Bruh. A galley here and a galley here would deny quite a lot of wood income as well. And the other thing is that Sitaux is actually 10 on stone. Sitaux will drop another castle, and that castle has to be right over here, and all you have to do is make sure Leary doesn't escape. And free TC boom this, free TC boom that. If Leary is like absolutely annihilated, then they will just lose. Like, there is no way Hera 1v2s a game like that. That would be a massive, massive surprise. Transport ship coming in here for Bruh. Bruh is making a transport. I'm not sure what exactly they will transport. It could just be maybe even knights from Bruh. Just make 2 knights, transport them in here, because the conks don't really have an easy way to jumping into transports. But you could make quite a lot of magical things happen with the transport ship. Over here, Sitaux 600 stone in the bank, so you can actually start the countdown for the castle drop in the face of Leary. Like, Leary's gonna have to make a defensive castle, but he's nowhere close to that, man. And Bruh just going for double layer stone walls. Sneaky Villager coming out on the right side. Hera indeed going for TC number 4. But you also have to consider that Hera apparently is going heavy on stone, so you might be thinking about the castle. Where is that transport? And what is he doing? Petards. Sitaux is making petards, and he's blasting his way through the walls. Contingency walls are in here for Lear, and Lear is trying to escape somewhere, but there is nowhere to go. There is nowhere to go for Leary. The question is if Sitaux knows if he's escaping. I think Sitaux should know. Sitaux probably knows that Leary is trying to escape here, and if you are Bruh+Sitaux, you should drop outposts here, and Leary's got nowhere to go, man. He's got nowhere to go, and you could use that transport, make 2 conks here, send it over here, and transport them to the back of Leary's base. Guard tower defense now coming in for Leary, and I feel like you need something more here for Sitaux, though, to finish off Leary. He's 12 on stone still, so that might be another castle. It could be a castle in the face of Hera. It looks like the conks will be heading towards Hera as well, alongside a siege workshop from Bruh. That transport is still just chilling, so apparently our yellow player changed his mind. Leary escaped to the left side, and it's one village. Oh man, Leary escaped to the left side indeed, but this villager is being tracked down by a conquistador, so both villagers that actually escaped from Leary, he tried breaking out here, but the outpost spotted them and the conks will just snipe those villagers down. Oh man, he's got nowhere to go, and I can hear the internal scream of Leary here. He's like, oh man, why do I have to play this? And Hera's just booming. The brutal thing is that Hera's at 72 villagers, but I mean Leary's at 27. And whatever Hera does, 2v1 it's going to be awfully hard, because he will be missing some sort of component to his army. Over here, you could use those fire guys to take down houses from Hera, make his life a little bit harder, and the overall eco is actually better for Bruh+Sitaux. And the thing is that Hera is on 4 TCs, but he's gonna get pressured by conks and mangonels, whereas his opponent has docks with Persians and 3 TCs as well. So 3 TC Persian Boom should be able to catch up more or less, or at least have a comparable eco to Hera. Conks are great at sniping mangonels as well, and yeah, Leary actually is escaping to the right side. This is a little bit sloppy from Bruh+Sitaux, and one way to lose a game would be to allow Leary to survive here. This should be a dead Leary here. Leary is repairing that TC consistently, and do you know where that castle goes? That castle goes somewhere around over here, in the face of Hera. 2 mangonels now in for Bruh. Nice move with the conks sniping the mangonels, and it looks like we're actually gonna have no 3-0 here, or at least that is how it seems. This TC is still up for Leary, that's for sure, but his eco is just in ruins. So he's not really gonna get a lot out of that. Battering ram now taking down the market. Defensive castle on the way for Hera, but I mean he's gonna get castled up on the left side. Hera wants to go for potentially an imp and then hub and siege, because he's making multiple barracks. Nice mangonel shot over there from Hera. Hera's got insane mango micro, but how is he going to stop a castle drop in his face? I'm not 100% sure. And Leary did escape to the outside. This is something that is unseen by Sitaux, so he doesn't know about that currently. The transport is still idle here, and now it's actually annoying that it's idle. You could transport 5 conks in here and just finish off Leary. Leary is probably working towards the defensive castle himself. Castle drop right in the face of Hera. So with that, I don't know where Hera is going. I mean, Hera's trying to go into Imperial and go for hub and siege, but he's getting sandwiched in between 2 players. And if you look at the overall eco for Bruh, it's actually comparable to Hera's eco. Now, Persians do struggle a tiny bit against hub and siege, but I feel like Hera's gonna need some time until he gets to hub and siege. I'm really unsure if he has the time to do that. And once again, Sitaux just yoink his stone. Sitaux drops castles everywhere. He's 14 on stone. He will drop another castle soon. The bars over here actually represent the share of overall military and eco. So it pretty much is a balance of power, so to say. Military here on the top row and villager count here in the bottom row. They represent the balance of power, so to say. And is it gonna be a castle as well from Bruh? He's not very far away from that, and he could buy himself some stone to drop a castle on the other side. Nice mangonel shot over there from Sitaux. A so good mangonel shot that it's actually worth rewinding, because that is an excellent mangonel shot, man. Oh boy. Oh boy, that was a beautiful one from Hera. Another nice ground attack. Kongs is trying to snipe down the Mangonels. Hera's Mangonel micro is casing. Don't ask me how or why. Lyra is going into Imp. And do you know what Lyra is gonna do? Lyra is gonna make a defensive castle. Like, he doesn't really have a lot of space, but delete some farms, make a castle here, and then trap this down. And I did tell you that it was a sort of a mistake. I like the decision that you actually go for the Imp on this hidden TC, by the way. It was a mistake leaving Lyra alive. Do you know what Sitaux should have done with all this? He could have tried petard rushing the TC down, or potentially just go for 2 rams. If you take two battering rams, they take down this TC, because the villagers can't kill the rams because the castle covers. So it's a little bit sloppy from Sitaux not finishing off Lyra here, and that could backfire really badly here, because it's gonna be 2 players in Imp. Lyra has 32 eco, so it doesn't really matter from his perspective, but 32 eco could actually matter from the perspective that you get a castle up and you trap these down. Even if it's just 30 eco, you trap these down and suddenly you are free from the pressure. And instead of a player that's dying from the pressure, you're a player that actually survives. Now, if Sitaux gets +2, I think if he gets Botkin, he can actually take those villagers down though. Another castle drop being attempted here by Sitaux. Onagers and Siege will be there for Tempo Storm. And it looks like we'll have most likely Hand Cannoneer from Bruh instead of the Commander and Crossbows. Hand Cannon is nice, but you need some sort of meat shield or something that snipes Siege in front of them. And it would be a massive throw from Sitaux and Bruh to lose this, because they pretty much had Lyra dead. They allowed this sneak outside, and probably Bruh and Sitaux are like, what the hell, Lyra is an imp. And with that, this castle is not necessarily going up. Halberdier is now flooding the Conquistadors. The Mangonel is forced back as well, which means that Rams will actually take down this castle. Eventually they will go down. There is no siege weapons that can take down the Rams. It's now kept Rams. Hab and Siege coming in from Hera. Hera pretty much has to 1v2 this, but this is what I was talking about. It might seem bad to go to Imp with 31 villagers, but for one thing, and that's a trap. One trap here can save the day for Lyra, because one trap takes down 2 castles, and suddenly Lyra is able to start rebooming. Without a trap, Lyra would never be able to reboom, and it's a little bit sloppy from Bruh and Sitaux that they never finished off the opponent here. Nice quick pause, by the way, with the houses to prevent pikemen from overrunning the Mangonels. And the Mangonels are actually doing a nice job cleaning up the Rams here. Kept Rams knocking down the house. Hera will try once again sniping the Mangonels, as it seems like that's going to be successful. The Rams slowly going down. There is still one more Ram over there. Villagers have to come in to repair, but Hera already is confident that he's taking that castle down. That might be a little bit overconfident because that Ram is going down, and that means that the villagers just run into their death. Other side though, look at this. Hera does have Mangonels, but he doesn't really have anything that kills the hand cannoneers easily, especially when there is bombard cannon around. And bombard cannon, hand cannon here could be enough because it's only Mangonel and pikemen. And bombard cannon will just pick off the Mangonels, especially because Hera seems like he's unable to afford the Onager upgrade, as I'm saying that he just got Onager in. That's where dangerous territory begins for Bruh and Sitaux, especially with Hera taking down this castle over here. Lyra takes down the other castle. Still, if you look at the overall ecos, you can see that Sitaux actually boomed up to 120 villagers. So don't sleep on this one just yet, because it's one thing that Lyra is free now, but Lyra is still 48 eco. Big Onager hit, man! A big Onager hit. Still, I feel like it is easier to replenish 10 hand cannoneers than it is to replenish 5 Onagers, as I'm saying that he loses 2 bombard cannons as well, which was definitely far from ideal. But if the castles go down, Hera's gonna have a really troublesome time holding this position for now. They have a lot of space to fall back to, but the Kongs, all they have to do is just slow this down. You gotta slow this retreat down from Hera, because one thing that Tempo Storm is going to struggle for is time. Another Onager goes down, killing a couple of hand cannoneers, and Bruh is having some trouble keeping those hand cannoneers alive. It's a lot of Onager shots, and you are really playing with fire, microing hand cannoneers against Onagers, even though the micro here was actually fairly satisfactory. And with that, The castle goes down from Hera, the only castle that he has remaining. And it looks like we'll have some light cav being mixed in by Bruh to try and snipe the onagers. You can also try focusing down the workshops as fast as possible so that you can actually limit the amount of onagers that are on the field. Could be another big onager shot here, but Imperial Age is on the way for Sitaux, and I feel like... Bruh, man. Bruh. You gotta be careful with those, because that's one way to throw away the game like that. And I feel like Sitaux is just gonna go for Paladin here. Will most likely be just Cavalier. One thing I would love to see indeed is stables here, because being able to trickle in cavalry to the back of the opponent base helped quite a lot. Lear is actually 57 Voyagers, he probably will try to go for a couple of Arbs, and Arbs will be pretty decent against both the hand cannoneers and the bombard cannons. But eventually I think the deciding factor is going to be this eco lead, even though Bruh and Sitaux don't really control the corners either for trade, or at least it's not a convincing control so far. Castle coming in here as well from Bruh and Sitaux. Map control is not really amazing for Leary and Hera, but if Leary is given time, he will reboom into this one. He's up to 60 Voyagers. So you should never really say it's over until Hera and Leary call it. But Leary needs at least 10 minutes or so game time to get into Imperial, or not, well, get into Imperial, he's already Imp, but actually boom his way up into something a little bit more legitimate. I would love to see, as I said, just 2 galleys from Bruh would help so much here. Just denying those wood lines, harassing a little bit, Light Cav trying to dive in, snipe the onagers, bombard cannons will take down the trap, another castle will eventually go up, even though this actually turns into a somewhat legitimate doubt castle with all those Voyagers going down around it. And, I mean, with that castle going up, Hera and Leary will just call it. They know exactly that they can't counterattack, and I feel like they probably know as well that there is apparently a hole on Leary's walls, and now it's Paladin flooding in. Leary is still at 64 Voyagers, and this is what I was referring to. One thing that is extremely good with this map pack, I believe, is that there is a map for everybody in this. There is a map for everybody, and it looks like this was a map for Bruh and Sitaux, and really, this was the problem for Leary. He just got trapped within his own base, and with that, he was just delayed so much. Look at his population share at 30 minutes. He was like 27 Voyagers. So, imagine if they actually were able to take the Coast to Mountain game. I did mention that the core idea is that you want to win your own home maps. So now it is Forest Pond in their hands, and I would say that it is almost guaranteed that we'll see Cape of Storms being played by Tempo Storm here. They just love that map, so they will most likely go for that map. Let's take a look if indeed that is the case. So game number 4, Bruh and Sitaux aren't going down easily here, and indeed we're going to Cape of Storms. It is a map that has a long history with Tupos. In Tupos 1 we had a map making contest. It was a $50 prize pool. And this is the winner of the map making contest 2 years ago. Tupos 1, Cape of Storms won with a fairly overwhelming majority of the votes, because of its interesting concept of pocket and flank civilization in 2v2, with the water elevation giving some extra spice, so to say, the water fights, even though fire galleys do not benefit from hills, as we discussed yesterday, I believe. We do have all the wood in the middle, or at least the majority of them. It's a fairly open map, but it's not impossible to wall. You can wall it like this, this, and this. The reason why Tempo Storm loves this map is because it is super open, and we're gonna have Leary in blue. Actually, Leary is playing green Japanese flank over here, and Teuton's pocket for Hera in blue. He will just play scouts here. It's just your generic scout civilization overall, nothing special about this map. Japanese was often a pocket civilization in 2+1 here, because you can just go for a crazy fish boom and then flood knights. Could be men-at-arms opening, could be just straight archers from Leary. On the other side, we'll have Ethiopians for Sitaux in red, and we will have Brew in yellow playing as Turks. Turks is often the civilization pick for this map for the extra Pierce armor on their scouts, the free light cav upgrade, but the main problem that Bruh+Sitaux will be having is that this is a fairly open map, and defending it is going to be really tough against good scouts micro players like Hera and Leary. So this is literally a wood line over here for Sitaux. Not necessarily the best, to be honest, because you're gonna have to walk a lot to these. It is slightly better to have something like what Hera has, for example. But we'll have an early dock coming in here from Leary. A little bit dangerous to send the Voyager out without protection, but should be good to go because there is no opponent scout lurking for that. It looks like the other tempo player Hera is gonna go for water as well. And that is a very, very nice dock spot for him because that Voyager can actually take the deep fish here as well. So you can drop a dock here, and that would be an absolutely gem of a dock, or even here is going to be a good one. Other side, it looks like we'll have a dock coming in for Sitaux as well. Dock is already going up for a Brew. So it looks like we'll have all 4 players playing with docks. And one thing to point out on this map is that there is 3 boars per player. So the extra food that you start with at the beginning also helps getting the good fuel age time in and just go for scouts. So it looks like Leary's elephant decided to walk back, but then he changes his mind for the time being. Scouts being chased down over here. Sitaux does have no HP advantage. And oh, this was interesting. He stopped. I think he got scared that Leary is just going to turn back and fight. So he decides not to fight this one. We haven't talked about the civs of Bruh+Sitaux that much, but Ethiopian is an interesting one here. So 2 traditional archer civ flanks here and 2 pocket civs overall, but I like Teutons a lot more than I like Turks. Turks will be interesting, especially when it comes to taking down Leary's archers. But I like the versatility a little bit better as well. From Leary's Japanese, he can open men-at-arms if he wants to, and that could be a fairly strong opening, gets housed for a moment. And he also has the Japanese fishing ship bonus, which is faster working and higher HP. That's a nice combination overall in this one. So Hera in blue in the pocket, and now it looks like the scouts will actually have a scuffle over here. Bruh+Sitaux trying their best to edge out us victory here in the Scout Wars, which would be an important victory. You want to make sure that Hera and Leary have their scouts dead, so that you potentially deny some information, and more importantly, don't allow Hera to use that scout early on to pick off Voyagers alongside the other ones. We'll have the fastest loom coming in here for Brew, clicks up first to Feudal. No, he needs a bit more food to click up, so he's not clicking up just yet. Neither is Sitaux, and that starts getting concerning, because both Tempo Storm players will have a better fuel age time than Bruh+Sitaux. We have a scout scuffle over here. Leary decides to take this fight, but then turns away as Hera is coming in here with his own scout to help. So this is the moment where Brew is gonna have to disengage, and so he will. The scout from Sitaux is coming in to relieve as well, and it's a 25 seconds advantage for both Tempo Storm players against our mixed Brazilian-French team. So for now, eco-wise, it's slightly better for Bruh+Sitaux. They added 1 more Voyager each. In Dark Age, we'll have the barracks coming in for Brew for a scouts play. Same thing most likely for Hera, although no barracks just yet. He brings in boar number 3. I love that move. Many players just ignore boar number 3. And it looks like the pockets will bring it in. I think it's still worth to bring it in regardless of what civ or what position you play, because that's so much extra food. So barracks now coming in for Sitaux as well, and it looks like Leary is going to play straight archers, slowly walling up his base. I like that quite a bit, because if you wall off this side of the base, then you can pretty much make sure that you are safe. The opponents usually don't walk all the way around here on the north, so oh, look at that, Hera, man, yoinking 2 piggies from the opponent. That was so savage. but it's a tournament, man, and you're allowed to lane. So that was a very, very nice find. Kills 2 piggies from the opponent. Luckily for Sitaux, he still has an extra elephant, and he has some ostriches. So this would have been much, much worse on Arabia. In this map, when you have some extra fish to take, when you have some extra hunt, it's not that big of a deal. It is annoying, obviously, but it could be worse. Let's just say that. Archers now coming in here for Leary, going for range number 2 immediately. We will have archers as well from Sitaux, and one thing to point out is that there's Japanese spearmen supporting. I like that move, because dolphins are driving me insane. Are they loud? I can't hear them. I'll have to check. They're not even loud, man. They're not even loud. For those of you that are confused, how is this possible? I don't hear it. Nice 3D effect about me is that I've been casting for 2 years without hearing game sounds. I don't actually listen to the game. I'm doing everything without the headphones because it feels more comfortable and natural to me. So yeah, I can't hear game sounds. I'm just casting with whatever I see on the screen. Alright, so what did we skip while I was explaining that? We skipped Hera getting +1 defense, and that's a nice thing to do, early +1 attack as well. And this is definitely the top map of Tempo Storm. And I feel like if you're up against Tempo Storm in this tournament, you ban Cape of Storms. They actually did do all their home maps, I believe, in Empire Wars Duo on this map as well. Empire Wars Duo was last summer. That was a $1,000 2v2 Empire Wars event, the first of its kind. And Tempo Storm actually went for Cape of Storms as all their home maps. And you see that +1/+1 kicking in very, very nicely over here for Hera. The other scouts on the opposing side only have the extra pierce armor from the Turkish bones, but no upgrades, and that's the massive difference between the two teams, and it's looking so good for Tempo Storm. I feel like after seeing Empire Wars Duo, I'm fairly certain that this is by far the favorite map of Hera and Leary from the entire map pool of my tournaments. If you play against them, you gotta ban this map immediately, because they are just so golden at. It's a combination of great macro for them, so they can actually have a very, very good macro with the fish and the extra food at the beginning. And the ability to control their units so well. Hera is insane with these scouts. It's a very open map, which fits the style of Hera and Leary. And as much as the closed map, Forest Pond, for example, doesn't fit their style that much, Cape of Storms does. It's an open map, it's fairly macro-orientated, and some very, very nice micro here from Leary. You see that Bruh is trying to get his scouts out on the field. Stable number 2 up right now for him. Hera, I think, is already on 2 stables, indeed. He is. And look at those resources for Hera. That is just crazy. That is just crazy, man. It's one thing that they are already stomping Bruh+Sitaux here in this Feudal Age fight, but Hera clicks up to Castle Age. That's some brutal macro. By the way, Leary actually went for water, so that is one of the reasons why Bruh doesn't have that many scouts or upgrades on the field. Tries to go for bloodlines, but at the end of the day, Leary's combination of archers and fire galleys is what really makes a difference here, I think. Because that pretty much kills the fishing eco of Bruh, and without fishing eco, Bruh doesn't have the scout numbers as Hera does. Hera has a completely untouched fishing eco of 8 fishing ships, and also Leary has 4 here. So overall ecos are much better for Tempo Storm right now. So I think that Teutons at this stage will be insanely hard to beat, especially if you look at Leary also getting close to Castle Age. Teutons will get 1 extra melee armor on their knights as well. So their knights will be very, very sturdy, and now Hera goes for a triple stable knights play. They want to finish this off. They want to take revenge for the previous game where Leary had a very, very hard time. And I think Tempo Storm switched gears a little bit compared to the previous game. Go for their best map by far, and I feel like as much as Cup was the map where Hera was undefeated during entire Hidden Cup, I feel like Cape of Storms is a map where it's possible that Tempo Storm will be undefeated in the entire tournament. Although there is two teams that play very, very good Cape of Storms. Tempo is one, and the other one is Gamer Legion A, Viper and Taro. It would be an absolute gem to see those two teams battle it out on this map, because both of those teams love this map, and they're extremely good on it as well. So, with that, Hera is up to Castle Age, goes immediately for Gilnet's triple stable Knights production. Not even +2 defense, he goes for a greedier approach. He knows exactly doesn't need +2 defense immediately. He's just going to say, okay, whatever, I'm going to bring in my Knights. I don't need to apply that much pressure early on because we are controlling water, so we have the eco lead most likely. I can just go Gilnets, I can just go Bolso first, I don't need to rush my defense upgrades just yet. And look at that, I mean, Sitaux is just gonna click up to Castle Age, same thing for Brew. Leary also clicked up already, and I feel like a forward Siege Workshop will be imminent, most likely from Leary, but for that he needs to get up to Castle Age first, and that I'm not sure if that's an intentional opening or not, but it definitely is a whole Knights now with +2 defense coming in the moment, and they will have a 5 melee armor as well, which is important as well, because look at that, by the way, Hera drawing away all the weak scouts and then retreating with them to make sure he doesn't lose a single scout. Hera's cavalry control is absolutely crazy, and I feel like one of the reasons why this team is just so strong as a combination is because Leary might be the best pure archers player in the world, and Hera might be the best pure cavalry player in the world, if you think about that. And that means that they're just a so good combination, because for 2v2 you usually need an archer save and a cavalry save. And both of them are extremely good in their respective roles. And they also have extremely good team chemistry, and I feel like this mass exodus is exactly the end of Bruh+Sitaux in this one. They did win one game, and I think they can be proud of their accomplishments, because it wasn't a complete stomp, but you could see the difference between the quality of players here. Still, Tempo Storm is probably the strongest in their group, and really, there's no shame falling to them. Bruh+Sitaux are seed number 4, so for Bruh+Sitaux, their best shot is most likely to win, or at least try to win the loser's game, and then try to win the decider game to end up second in their group. They played well, but they might be playing against one of the strongest, if not the strongest, team in the entire tournament. Tempo Storm winning against Bruh+Sitaux 3-1. So with that, I feel like we can look at the stats, but all you're just gonna see is this. 2,000 extra resources for Hera compared to the opponent's 1k extra for Leary, and that really showed why they were able to go up to Castle Age a lot earlier, and first to Castle often wins the game in this one. Hera with 41 kills, 15 deaths, Leary with 43, 26. This was a fairly dominant game from them. I think perfectly showing why this map is their first home map. So, Tempo Storm defeating Tempo Storm defeating Bruh+Sitaux here, and that marks the end of our first set of the day.